the 23rd of April 2003, approximately 1 p.m. Interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Richard T. Baker, and date of birth was 10/27/20.
Okay. Where were you born?
Born in the town of Champion.
Okay. What was your educational background prior to entering military service?
Just high school. I graduated from Copenhagen.
Okay. When you first heard about Pearl Harbor, where were you and what do you remember about that?
About Pearl Harbor. That was in 41, right?
Yes.
I was probably working at the paper mill there in Carthage at that time.
Do you remember what your reaction was when you heard about it?
Yeah. Said it shouldn't happen, but that's the way it did.
Okay.
Nothing I could do about it.
Yeah. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I were drafted. I tried to enlist, I don't know, April maybe in 42. And when the lad I was talking to, a recruitment officer, I guess, I was going to be enlisted a cadet, you know. And when he found out I had false stacy, that was it. So then they drafted me in August, and I went to Syracuse for physical, and I went right from there to Fort Niagara, and then Miami Beach. And
now, what did you do out in Fort Niagara? What kind of...
then just basic, just getting a civilian, you might say the civilian mud off me or whatever. Shine your shoes, and we had to stand reveille and retreat and all this good stuff. And they'd take us out there and march them around the parade ground for, yeah.
And where did you go after that?
Miami Beach. That was more or less a staging area, I guess. I wasn't there for like a couple of weeks maybe. Then I went to Amarillo, Texas for mechanical school.
How long were you there?
I don't know, I left there shortly after Christmas. Might have been in the January. Went to Seattle, Washington, to Boeing aircraft plant, and studied B-17s only. Nothing else, just B-17s. Anything pertaining to a B-17.
How long were you up there?
A couple of months, I would guess.
And after you were in, at the Boeing factory, where were you sent?
Went from there to Salt Lake City. And that's another staging area.
Now, I noticed it says you became a turret gunner. Where did you go for that training?
I went from Salt Lake City to Wendover, Utah, as an aerial gunnery school. And I was there probably well, I went from there to Ephrata, Washington, So that must have been in the middle of May, maybe. Because I trained with one crew, skeleton crew. We had about 5 or 6 men. And then we got our first phase of training done. And then I went to the hospital for appendix. So I was there 2 weeks. So when I come out of the hospital, the whole crew was shipped out. So I had to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When were you assigned to your crew that you stayed with? Or
Well, it would be have to be right around maybe right around the first part of August, probably.
okay, where did you pick up your crew?
Well, most of them was right there. You dropped your. When we went from there to Walla Walla, Washington, and there we had a full crew, 10 men.
Where did you pick up your B-17?
In the war, England.
So you went over as a crew, you didn't fly over, or you
Went over in the boat.
went over in the ship? Oh, okay.
Yeah, went over in the Queen Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
At that time, that was the biggest tub in the water.
So this is your whole crew went across on a ship. Did you go in a convoy?
Yeah. No. No.
Just a single ship?
She went by herself.
So you didn't pick up a plane until you reached England then?
Right.
Oh, okay.
We didn't get the plane until we got to the air base where we were stationed.
Where was that?
Framlingham Param Air Base is what they called it.
What unit were you assigned?
390th Bomb Group, 571st Squadron.
Okay. Did you get a new B-17, or was it one that?
We started the first mission we made was a new one.
Did you get a chance to name your plane, or did it already have a
We
name?
didn't. That one was right fresh out of somewhere. I don't know where it came from. Well, they probably built it in Seattle, but we flew that one plane maybe a couple of times, and we got another one. That's the one we put the name on.
What was the name of the plane?
Haphazard.
Who named it that?
Well, I don't know what the story was on that naming business. The pilot's name was Harry, and a lot of people called him Hap, or at least that's what he wanted to be called, so that's what we called it, Haphazard.
Did you ever decorate the front of the plane at all?
Well, we just had a number of missions painted on it.
If you hold that up in front of you, Wayne can take a picture of that.
This is a diploma.
Oh.
That's a college education.
I've never seen one of those before.
I don't think you'll see very many of them.
No. Now, what did you have to do to get that?
What happened?
How did you get that diploma?
From making 30 missions.
Okay, got it.
And this is the name of the places I run.
How long did it take you to fly 30 missions?
Let's see. Probably from November till May. I made my last mission the 19th of May in 1944.
Did you run into a lot of flak on your missions or enemy fighters?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of them. We seen them all. I got a chunk, that's something I meant to bring to you. Let me show you that. I've got a little chunk of flak that I've got.
Where was your first mission?
I don't know. Right off the top of my skull, I can't tell you. The first one listed here is Emden, Germany.
Were all of your missions into Germany?
I don't think. Well, there's one. Some of these France. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One is Belgian. There's 7 or 8, and well, with France, it was all German occupied though.
When you, with your plane, did you wear a bomber jacket? The leather jackets.
What about it?
Did you wear a jacket?
I had an old army field jacket, a cloth job.
You didn't have any of the leather ones? Did you ever decorate it or anything?
Yeah, I had a leather one that had every mission I flew, I stuck a bomb or a painting of a bomb on the back of it. Had haphazard across the top, and then the bombs was across the bottom. The missions we've completed.
What'd you ever do with your jacket?
I give it to my daughter.
She still have it?
Yeah, as far as I know.
All right. Were you ever, was your plane ever seriously damaged on any of your missions?
Yeah. Yeah, we got shot up pretty good one time. I'll let you read this, and you can start right there by my thumb and go down. Them are what my mother picked out of that was in the paper years ago.
Yeah, if you want to read it.
March 24, 1944, Staff Sergeant Richard T. Baker, 23, Carthage, 8th Air Force, engineer upper turret gunner, was a crew member of the Flying Fortress Haphazard when it recently limped home from an attack on Kiel, Germany, and made an emergency landing in England on one wheel and one engine. Haphazard was blasted from formation after it had dropped its bomb load on the Nazi naval installations at the Baltic seaport. A heavy burst of flak near the nose knocked out the 2 inboard engines, disrupted the electrical system, played havoc with the controls, and narrowly missed injuring or killing the navigator and bombardier. Facing the North Sea with only 2 engines, one of which already was developing trouble, Baker and his mates shook off 3 Nazi fighter planes and landed at the RAF field on the English coast just as the fort's gas supply was giving out. With one wheel down and no time to lower the other, the pilot landed the ship and brought it to a stop just short of the bomb dump. Sergeant Baker is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Forrest Baker of Carthage. Also in March 1944, he is credited with destroying a German fighter plane, which he shot down with his .50 caliber machine gun during the attack over Berlin. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal, and an Oak Leaf Cluster. Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yes.
And there's this paper here, that come from England right there.
Mm-hmm.
At that time. I don't remember what the story was on it, you know.
Well, that's the same.
Practically
Mission,
the same
yes.
thing, I think.
Yeah. Now, when your electrical system was knocked out, did you lose your heat in your flight suits? Do you remember?
Well, a B-17, everything runs electrically,
Mm-hmm.
practically.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know what. Today, I wish I'd found out what knocked the electrical system out, and if the wheel that was up, the tire was flat.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know.
Were none of the crew members were wounded when you took the flak?
No. We had one mission. The bombardier got a chunk of iron went through his leg, right about where my hand is here, right through the muscle of his leg.
Mm-hmm. Did you wear flak jackets?
I don't know whether they did or not. We had them
Mm-hmm.
at that time because I threw them in the North Sea.
Were you throwing things out to get rid of weight?
Get weight so we could fly it.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't fly with we kept throwing out this and that, anything that made weight. Guns, I kept my gun. And I think the rest of the boys, we threw them in the North Sea.
How were you able to shake off the German fighters that were after you?
Just lucky. Lucky. There was a B-17 nearby, or B-17, B-24. And the German fighters took after him instead of us. So I guess they was a easier target maybe than a B-17.
Mm-hmm.
But that saved their neck on that one.
Was your plane flyable after that mission? Or was it ever able to be repaired?
I think they fixed it. I heard they fixed it and flew it afterwards.
Mm-hmm. How many missions did you fly of your 30 on haphazard?
That I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what mission this was that this happened? What number mission?
I would think about the 4th, maybe.
So the rest of the missions, did you fly on the same plane or did you fly on all different?
No, well, after we crashed that one then, we had a different airplane. But I can't remember whether we painted that up or not. I think probably we did. Put haphazard on that one. And
Do you think that was your most harrowing mission that you had?
yeah,
How did you fight?
I don't know about the mission part, but getting back from it.
Yes, right. How did you, what mission was it that you shot down the German fighter?
One of Berlin's.
Can you describe that mission and how you did that?
I made about 5 trips to Berlin. One right after another. Then the last mission I made was Berlin, and there was another one in between there somewhere. Well, it would be the 28th mission was Berlin. And these others in a row were 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. One right after the other. It got kind of monotonous.
The flak was heaviest over Berlin, or was it?
Sometimes it wasn't too bad.
Okay. What were your relations like with the people in England? Did you ever get to fraternize with the people much?
Well, we had a pub we used to go to get a little mild and bitters and whatever they had there. And if we had time off, we had a week off. The crew, and they flew us to Bournemouth, England. And that was, we were right around close to 20 missions. Eh? They said, well, we'll give you a little rest from this flying business, and you get down there and do what you damn please.
Did you get to see any USO shows while you were over there?
I don't think so.
When you finished your last mission and came back to the United States, when was that?
The last mission was 19th of May, 1944.
And
I got back in the States probably right around the first part of September.
did you, were you involved in any of the bombings during D-Day campaign?
No,
No. How did you return to the United States?
by boat.
Did your whole crew return together?
No. On that boat, I was the only one out of my crew. Because I had sore throat, and I socked the salt to it. I got rid of the sore throat, but it dried up my vocal cords so I couldn't talk, and they grounded me. So I had to fly 2 extra missions. On that account, I lost 2 trips over that deal. The last 2 missions I flew with pickup crews. Spare men, odd men, or whatever.
Besides being a turret gunner, it said you were an engineer. What kind of work did you do on the plane as an engineer?
Anything except radio. I didn't know nothing about radio. Anything that needed doing, engines, wings, fuel tanks.
When you returned to the United States, you weren't discharged until March of '45. What did you do in between?
I went back to Amarillo, Texas, and I worked in a hangar there. Oh, I don't know how long. And finally I got, my back got bothering me, so they took me out of the hangar on account of working on the cement. Give me a desk job doing some cussed thing. I can't remember this. Taking care of the world events, I guess maybe you'd call it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you heard about the death of President Roosevelt?
Well, we've all got to die someday.
Mm.
I don't really know, to tell you the truth, but you kind of felt sorry for them people, but it's just the way it is today.
Did you ever make use of the GI Bill after you left the service?
Well, I applied for mechanical training there when I was in Utica, but I didn't finish it.
Did you ever use the 5220 Club at all?
Come again?
The 5220 Club, you received $20 a week for 52 weeks after discharge. Did you ever use that?
No.
No? Okay.
I got a lump sum after a while. I can't remember, that wasn't too much, 100, maybe 100 and a quarter or something like that. But that was, oh hell. I was trying to think how many years that would be after I got discharged. About 4 or 5 years afterwards.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Yeah, the VFW there in Carthage.
Are you still a member?
Yep, life member.
Did you have you ever joined the 8th Air Force group, historical group?
No. I've sent in money for this World War II memorial there in Washington.
Right.
I donate to that every once in a while. I'm a charter member of that.
How do you did you stay in contact with anyone that you served with?
Well, I and one of my waist gunners, they lived in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania, and we used to run back and forth some. Then he passed away about 25 years ago, or almost, roughly 25 years. He had a cerebral hemorrhage and he didn't hang around long. And the radio operator lived in Amherst Junction, Wisconsin. And I and the wife went up there in 1954. Went up and visited him for a couple of days.
How do you think your service, do you think it ever changed or affected your life in any way?
Oh, I don't know. I do not know.
Do you have anything else there you'd like to show us? Do you have any photographs or?
Well, whatever. I got a picture here that I picked this out of the paper. That's a piss poor picture.
Now,
Tell me when I can throw it away.
what's the story about that? Is that?
Well, I think it says here the shows the Bombay doors open, And this white streaks are vapor trails from the airplane.
Okay.
Temperature had something to do with them. Don't ask me
Mm-hmm.
what that would be.
Okay.
But they'd yeah, we had most of the time we flew 21 planes. Once in a great while we'd put up 42, but that didn't happen very often.
Do you have any pictures of yourself in your uniform that you brought, or?
Well, now I don't know. I don't think I have with me. They took one picture after this deal here with and that was more or less just a
Oh, that's telling the same story about
that,
your...
yeah, that Stars and Stripes there was that war paper there they used to publish there.
Mhm. Okay.
We could,
What's that book you have there?
that's more or less to do with the 8th Air Force. It'll show you, well, it shows you a lot of stuff in there.
Okay, is that something that the 8th Air Force put out, or is something you picked up after the war?
I don't know when I did get it. I think probably I got it and maybe they might have given me that when I finished my missions too. It's a
Well,
possibility.
That could be.
I can't remember. And I don't think there's anything written here that tells you that either. In them days, you were just glad to get out of it, you know. You
Oh,
didn't-
yeah.
Today, you write all this stuff down.
Okay. Yeah, it was probably a book they gave you when you left.
I was going to show you I think they've got that, how you flew in formation. And, the airplane set up in a V. Didn't make a difference which way you looked at them, it was always in a V. Look at them from the side and they were in a V, and if you looked at them from the top or bottom, they were still in a V. I don't know whether that'll explain too much to you right there or not.
If you hold it up in front of you, Wayne will be able to...
That isn't quite what I was looking for.
Mhm.
Tell me when I can drop it.
Okay, you can drop it.
No, they run seven planes in a squadron. And any way you look at it, it was in a V.
Did you have a bomb sight on your plane? Or did you run off the lead bomber?
Most of the time, we dropped off on the leader.
Mhm.
They had what they called a the hell did they call it? But they had a bomb site. That lead plane had a bomb site, and everybody, when he gave the signal, everybody dropped their bombs. If everything worked right, that's where the bombs went.
Carpet bombing, is that it?
Pardon?
They call it carpet bombing, I think.
Well, I don't know whether they call it carpet or not, but it drop in a bunch, you know. I guess maybe that would be about it.
Okay.
Carpet bombing would just about do it. There was one here with a there's one there with a tail gone.
Did you always, you were always in the top turret?
Yeah.
Did you ever get in the ball turret down below?
Yeah, in training I did,
Mm-hmm.
but it was pretty tight. I had my ears stuck right in my knees stuck right in my ears,
Uh-huh.
but I could get into it and run it. And
Okay.
that's a chunk that says rocket fragment, 14-inch piece of steel tore the pants off the turret gunner without hurting him. So he had a close one.
I guess so.
Did you ever get any effects from frost at all, or
He'll get what?
did you ever have the frost bother you, or was your suit always
Frost?
frostbite?
Frostbite was bad.
Did you ever have any at all, or?
No, I was out of the waist gunners. When we first started flying over there, the waist gunners, the window, there's a picture of the windows and the waist, both side windows, you had to open them to operate the guns. And you got the wind in there, and of course it was 40 below zero in the centigrade, and that's kind of chilly.
Okay, I got it.
And I have seen 60 below zero on the centigrade thermometer, and that's cold.
Yeah, I guess so.
We could have to urinate, you know. And they had a relief tube in the plane, but you might as well not had it on account of the cold. Because the time you urinate, it's froze, just like that. So then we carried a coffee can. Pee in a coffee can, and before we could set that on the floor, that was froze solid. You didn't need to worry about spilling it. Before you could set it on the floor, it was froze solid. Then when we got down where it was warmer, we started warming up, lower altitude, and we'd throw it overboard. Yeah, a lot of the boys. Well, later on, the first planes had the side windows. Where in order to operate the guns, you had to open that window. One gun on each side. And after the newer planes got a window in there with a gun mounted right in the window. So you didn't have to have the window open. And that helped with the frostbite. Them boys was getting up here on their cheeks and down there on their neck. See, the oxygen mask covered up from about where my fingers are, down around here. That didn't freeze, but the frostbite was on the outside of them. And the ball turret gunner, if he pissed his pants, he sat right on a chunk of armor plate. And, you can imagine what that was. He was froze right to the metal. Because they had a padding on it, but I don't know what I got here. Tell you the truth. Well, I got some of these oak leaf clusters that. What the hell is that?
That's our, belongs with the videotape.
I hadn't better throw it away then, had I? See, there's oak leaf cluster. I don't know how many of those I've got. Half a dozen, probably.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
All right, I got it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the interview.
There's the air, for the air medal right there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You have your citation for your Distinguished Flying Cross?
Yeah, that's here somewhere. I think that's in some of this. Oak leaf cluster,
Air medal.
oak leaf cluster, oak leaf cluster, oak leaf cluster. I thought I had it. Well, that's for oh, that's oak leaf cluster, I think.
Yes.
This is where we was promoted. That's where I was tech sergeant, and here's a ball turret gunner, a waist gunner, another waist gunner, and a tail gunner. It was all made sergeant. I don't know whether there's a date on there or not. There should be. 26th of February 1944.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
I
Thank
thought I had that from the DFC, but apparently it's not. I've missed it somewhere.
I'd like to be able to copy these things.
Isn't that
You were with what, the first replacement?
the first replacement crews that went into that bomb group
Okay.
during the war? That was in, well, that's in the fall of 43.
What was it like coming back after a mission and finding that some of the people you flew with, guys on other planes, were gone? I mean, that must have been pretty tough to take, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the crews that went overseas with me went on their 25th mission.
Uh-huh.
At that time they had to make 25. And then they'd send you home. But they didn't come back.
What did the guys do to relieve the pressure? I mean, they come back after a mission. You guys probably drank a lot.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. They'd go down to the pub and whatever.
Uh-huh.
If they had time. Well, my ball turret gunner and the tail gunner, well, they turned 20 years old. We was flying missions when they turned 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
But they was partying boys. Well, they had time. I had a lot of work to do. I had to take care, check on the airplane all the time. And if the ground crew had 2 men for a ground crew, Sergeant Busey, at that time it was from Rochester, New York, and I can't remember the other lad that worked with him.
Uh-huh.
But they'd have more work than they could do,
Uh-huh.
and I'd help them.
Okay, well, thank you again.
You bet.